Welcome back to Today Extra. Australian students are on an academic slide, with new research revealing nearly half are failing to reach national standards in maths and in reading, despite school funding tripling to $72 billion.
To discuss, we're joined by educator Ned Manning in studio and former principal Tracy Tully live from Brisbane. Good morning to you both. Thanks for making time for us. Ned, let's go to you first. Are these results concerning to you?
Very. The whole funding issue, of course, has been going on forever. When Gonski came out, we didn't implement one Gonski's recommendations. Had we done that, we wouldn't be talking about this now. The funding, this figure that increased funding, it doesn't break down where the funding's going. And the problem is the funding is not going where it should be going, and that public education is not being supported. The flow-on effect from that is a societal one, that we have haves and have-nots. The have-nots are in the state system and the haves are in the private system, and that's the problem. And that has been the problem for years, and we seem to be quite happy as a society to accept that, and accept that we'll have a two-tiered society. Everything flows from that, from the support that has been outlined on countless occasions that's needed to be provided for public education.
So take us to the coalface in the classroom. It being the lowest results in 2 decades, what are you seeing and hearing inside those classrooms on a daily basis for students?
Well, here's a very good one example. I was just talking to someone this morning whose niece wanted to be a casual teacher, right? Couldn't get any work a couple of years ago. Now works every day. That means there's not enough permanent teachers. Why are there not permanent teachers? Because they're resigning. Why are they resigning? Because the conditions are appalling. From when I started a long time ago, the conditions for teachers have deteriorated remarkably. They're overworked, they're not supported enough. So the whole thing is going off the rails, and it's going off the rails because, as I said earlier, when Gonski, that report came out, we did not implement those recommendations.
Tracy, let's bring you in on this. What kind of impact could these results have on students entering the workforce?
A huge impact, and I'm listening to employers every day. The reason being is because simply they cannot communicate effectively and efficiently, and they struggle with structure and routine. So this is where it starts in primary school. Our trainee teachers aren't taught how to teach structure and routine, nor how to communicate, and that isn't in the curriculum.
With this study, Tracy, we saw students in Singapore come out on top with their results. What can we learn from overseas?
We can learn so much from overseas, especially Singapore. And once again, it's all about the communication and the teacher training, and obviously the cognitive overload that we have in our curriculum. So we need to be actively going into those schools and seeking help and support for our issues, and not turning a blind eye and ignoring, as Ned mentioned.
Ned, is there anything that you think parents can do to help those students who are falling behind?
Look, I think that's a great question, because it needs to be parents working with teachers. What happens too often is people send their kids off to school, they don't, you look after it, and when in 6 years' time, could you turn this person into an astrophysicist? But without parental support, the teacher can't survive, and in terms of discipline, that needs to be supported. All right? And the problem is that quite often it's not. The school management is trying to work with parents, the school management is working on its own, and that needs to be, that needs to be sorted out so that it's parental support. The school's not going to turn someone into something they're not.
No, of course. And it's not just on an academic level either. Tracy, meantime, we were seeing teachers spending 15% of time in class managing student behaviour instead of actually being able to teach a lesson. Are you seeing this type of disruption in the classroom?
Yes, and that percentage would be grossly under. I mean, we don't have any consistent data, national data at all on teachers. There's our first problem. I don't know where they're pulling all this data from, I do, but that's just not good enough. We have brilliant data from the Australian Catholic University and Deakin University with principals, and we need likewise, and yet we shy away and we shun the idea of having the truth out there and collecting that data. So that is our first issue. We don't have the data that will actually tell us the issues and make people stand up. The second issue is that we have a curriculum that is top-heavy, way too overcrowded, and kids can't connect with that curriculum.
Well, speaking of the curriculum, Ned, a recent inquiry recommended teaching a behaviour curriculum. Do you think that that would be helpful, or do you think that that would just add to the strain?
I'm not sure what that means, behaviour curriculum. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing, that behaviour, but I think one of the big problems here is a lot of young teachers don't have the experience. Like, what's happened in education is a lot of very experienced teachers have left. They've had enough. Now, those people could mentor young teachers. When I was a young teacher and I had a class for writing, I was looked after by the maths master who was 20 years older. That is what needs to happen. It's not an easy job, but what you need is to support particularly young teachers. That's how they can apply discipline, follow it through, but they can't do it without support. It's scary, to be honest with you.
It is,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we're lucky we have people like you, Ned, and you, Tracy, as well. And we thank you both this morning for joining us to shine a light on what's happening in the classroom. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Still to come for you this morning, traffic returns to normal after